Okay, so I'm going to crack on and get started. There might be a few people join, but just conscious to get started so that we have lots of time to hear the fantastic things that Savannah from Sodexo is going to tell us, but also for Q&A from everybody on the call. So welcome to the third in a series of Lunch and Learn sessions from RAP that we'll be hosting over the coming few months. It's great to see so many of you on the call today. My name's Lindsay and I'm a specialist within the food waste prevention team at RAP. And today I'll be joined by my fellow team members, Asha, Emma and Hugh. So we're all here to answer your questions and we'll provide at the end any query, question, results and responses that we can. I will start with a brief introduction to RAP, then I will pass you on to the main event, which is Savannah, who's going to present on Sodexo's work on implementing a food waste prevention strategy into their organisation. As I said, we plan to leave time at the end of the session to address any questions, so please feel free to use the Q&A function to raise any questions that you have. The session will officially finish at 12:30, but please feel free to stay on the webinar if you have any further questions for Savannah or for any of us within the RAP team. For those of you that are not aware of RAP, it's a global environmental action charity transforming our broken product and food systems to create circular living for the benefit of the climate, nature, and people. For 25 years now, RAP has discovered and delivered programs that reduce carbon dioxide and waste, restore nature, and change people's behaviour. Our mission is to embed circular living in every boardroom and in every home. Our focus for the food system is simple but powerful. A, cutting food waste, greenhouse gas emissions, and managing water sustainability. We do this by convening businesses, governments, and civil society through our food packs, setting credible targets with Target Measure Act and food loss and waste protocols. We also deliver net zero plans, scope 3, water stewardship, and address on-farm food waste. Doing this shapes goals for global and national policy by embedding SDG 12.3. We also engage citizens through our behaviour change campaigns such as Love Food, Hate Waste. I'm flying through this, everyone, as I'm very keen to get to the main event, which is Savannah. So how can we fix this broken food system? In reality, it's not one thing that any of us can do as one person. We can do it collectively by taking action on food waste. RAP's Food Waste Reduction Roadmap provides a simple, practical starting point through Target Measure Act, where businesses commit to setting a food waste reduction target, measuring food waste consistently, and using that data to act across their own operations, their supply chains, and through how they engage with their customers, including supporting household behaviour changes through our campaigns such as Love Food, Hate Waste. The roadmap is free to sign up to, and RAP provides clear, practical guidance, toolkits, and resources to help you get started. If you're not already signed up and committed to the roadmap, it's a no-brainer. It's a straightforward way to reduce costs and inefficiencies within your business. For organisations that want to go further and faster, PAC membership builds on the roadmap commitment. PAC members gain access to structured reporting, practical solutions, tailored support, and opportunities to learn from others through our working groups and our Connect events, where businesses share their challenges, their solutions, and the real results. If you're already signed up to the roadmap or the pact, one of the most impactful steps that you can take is to encourage your suppliers and customers to commit to helping tackle food waste across the wider supply chain. From bin to bottom line, for a long time, food waste has been treated as an unavoidable cost in doing business or as a sustainable issue that sits to one side of commercial decision making. RAP have this framework that brings food waste back to the core of how a business is run. At its heart, bin to bottom line is a structured end-to-end framework that helps organisations treat food waste as a controllable operational cost that recovers margin. It starts by taking the problem, making it visible, to help businesses understand the true cost of food waste, not just the food itself, but the labour, the energy and the disposable costs that sit behind every kilogram of food that goes in the bin. Once leaders can see that the numbers are clearly, food waste stops being abstract and starts looking at a financial lever that can be used. The framework is very deliberate about where it starts, and that's with leadership and governance. Food waste reduction only sticks when senior ownership, clear accountability across all functions, and is built into existing performance and reporting structures. This isn't about adding another initiative, it's about strengthening the way the business already operates. Measurement then provides the foundation for action through simple target measure act approaches, giving teams consistent data that shows where the waste is really happening and where effort will deliver their biggest return. That insight is then used to engage the teams, not to blame them, turning data into ownership at a site level. The framework then focuses on targeted interventions, where it prioritises a few changes that make the biggest difference, from portioning, menu design, stock control, and service practices. Those improvements are then systemised into SOPs, training, audits, and performance reviews, which results clearly show a financial and environmental impact, showing return on investment, carbon savings, and enabling the work to be scaled across the entire organisation. As you listen to Sodexo share what they have achieved, we encourage you to think about what's possible in your organisation. By being part of the Food and Drink Pact, organisations have access to the bin to bottom line framework to help implement in a way that works for their business. We also have free resources, including our plate waste toolkit, that are available on our Guardians of Grub website. Please use the QR codes here, and there will also be links available. Our lunch and learn sessions have the purpose of the sessions is ensuring learning, encouraging discussion, and supporting continuous improvement, but most importantly, to stimulate action. These are the working titles that we have for the dates, also on the slide. Please feel free to suggest topics and put yourselves forward to share the examples of best practices and great things that you're doing. We'd be very grateful also for your feedback on these sessions. There will be an opportunity at the end to follow that through. Now I'm going to hand over to the main event. Savannah, looking very much forward to hearing what you've got to tell us today. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you. Well, hello, everyone. Nice to meet you all. I'm Savannah. I'm the Sustainability Manager for Sodexo UK and I. And today I'm going to be talking to you a bit about what we do in terms of food waste and our whole strategy. And if we go to the first slide, please. So for those of you that don't know who Sodexo are and what we do, we were originally founded in France. We're a French company. We now operate globally across all sorts of different countries. We now have over 300,000 employees. That ranges from our on-site teams to our chefs, to our nutritionists, to people like myself and the sustainability team and all of our offices. We are a food services and facilities management company. And across the UK and I, we operate over several different segments. So that ranges from corporate services, so your offices, to healthcare and hospitals, schools and universities, government, energy and resources, and Sodexo Live, which is all of our stadiums and places like that. To briefly touch on our sustainability strategy at a global level, we have something called our Better Tomorrow plan. It was originally Better Tomorrow 2025, but now that we're in the following year, it's been updated and the new iteration is Better Tomorrow 2028. So that's our global strategy, but at the UK and I level, we have our Social Impact Pledge 2030, which is focuses on 4 key pillars: our people, our planet, our places, and our partners. And all of our sustainability commitments, including food waste, fall under those key areas. Next slide, please. So just to give a bit of background in our sustainability journey so far, this slide is a visual of the key steps that we've taken so far. We began addressing sustainability and climate change back in 2010 when we partnered with WWF, who helped us to measure and begin reducing our carbon footprint. In 2021, we then set out this roadmap, and in 2022, we became the first food services business to have both near and long-term net zero targets validated by the Science Based Targets Initiative, which was a big step in our journey to prove that we're serious about tackling the issues related to climate change. In 2023, we decided to expand on these targets and introduce something called FLAG science-based targets, which focuses specifically on forest, land, and agricultural targets, which includes things like within our supply chain, we want to source our key commodities such as paper, soy, beef, etc., from deforestation-free sources. So that's the kind of thing that our new FLAG targets incorporate. A bit about where we are now. So obviously just finished 2025. We exceeded our short-term target, which was to achieve a 34% reduction in our scopes 1, 2, and 3 emissions. We actually achieved a 44.5% reduction. So we've massively exceeded that target and are on a good path for our next targets in 2030, which we are aiming for a 55% reduction. And by 2040, hopefully be net zero. So that's a bit of a brief background. All of these visuals are available on our website if you want to have a bit of a further look into them. But onto the next slide, please. So food waste, why is it important for Sodexo to focus on? As I mentioned, we are a food services company, which means that we deliver millions and millions of meals every day. So as you can imagine, we produce a lot of food waste, and therefore it is a massive important topic for us to focus on and a great way for us to drive meaningful change. To showcase our commitment and dedication to reducing food waste, we've been partnered with WRAP for over a decade, and we're one of the founding partners of the original Food and Drink Pact, which was previously called the Call to Hold Commitment. To put into perspective a bit about what it means in terms of corporate sustainability and greenhouse gas emissions, 98% of Sodexo UK and I's emissions fall under what we call Scope 3 emissions. And one of the categories within that is client site and operational waste, which therefore covers food waste, making it, again, a critical area for us to address to meet our targets and reduce our impact. To give you an idea of scale, in FY24 alone, food waste from our client sites and operations equated to 14,670 tonnes of carbon equivalents, which is obviously a lot and shows the scale of the challenge and why it matters. We have, like I said, set targets to achieve net zero by 2040. And as you can see with the scale of emissions associated with food waste, it is a massive focus for us as a company. So it's not just an operational priority, it's central to our environmental impact and reputation as a sustainable, responsible business. So next slide, please. So just to quickly introduce some of the challenges that we had surrounding food waste. As you can imagine, it's a big topic to take on and start investigating. And the nature of Sodexo's business, the fact that we operate across several different sectors and environments, range from small primary schools to hospitals, stadiums, and then corporate offices. Each environment is very different, which means that standardizing any new process or initiative was a challenge, including obviously our food waste initiatives such as WasteWatch, which I will discuss a bit more in a minute. We were seeing very high amounts of post-consumer plate waste, which is waste not from our kitchens, but from our consumers, for example, just scraping it into the bin, things like that. So as we were seeing large amounts of that without data and consistent measurements, etc., it was hard to know where the errors were occurring and how we can potentially tackle the issue. So in terms of stakeholders as well is the other side of our challenges. So not just operationally, we have a range of different stakeholders to consider. And obviously a key piece being education. So without teams understanding why food waste is an issue and why it's relevant for them, we can't expect anything to change or to improve our food waste emissions. So to truly tackle the issue and maintain the results, we need to embed long-term behavioural change, not just short-term fixes. And this obviously requires ongoing engagement and development. And we also need to try and maintain consistency across our colleagues, meaning that our message and our mission needed to be really clear and consistent. especially seeing as all of our sites, as you can imagine, have different priorities, pressures, and operational needs. So this is something we always have to bear in mind. And our stakeholders vary from kitchen staff, who are obviously responsible for implementing daily practices surrounding food waste, like tracking and reducing and things like that. We've got our general site managers who tend to oversee a lot of the processes surrounding food waste and other initiatives. They're busy people and have a lot of other things to balance. So it's how we can make a solution that works best for them. Our front of house teams play a role in obviously influencing customer choices. Perhaps if people are taking too much food and then it's going in the bin, there's an element of portion control. And then our regional and corporate leadership who provide resources and set expectations and guidelines for sustainability across the whole business. So one of the main challenges was just to make sure everyone's collaborating across all of these different areas and coming up with a solution that works for everyone. So if we go on to the next slide, please, thank you. So a bit more specific about how we tackle our food waste at Sodexo. As I say, we have our global Better Tomorrow roadmap, and food waste is a central part to that to ensure it remains a key focus across all regions and all aspects of our business. And as I previously mentioned, in order to tackle food waste, we needed visibility of the scale of the issue, what we were dealing with, and this requires data. Which is why we have been partnered with a company called LeanPath for over 8 years, and they helped us develop a tailored platform called WasteWatch. I have got a separate slide on WasteWatch in a minute, but just to give a brief idea of what it is, it's a customized food waste prevention analytics system that enables teams to track waste, understand root causes, and drive behavioural change. We launched it back in 2015, which was actually before we started tracking our greenhouse gas emissions, just to sort of give us an idea of the food waste issue that we were facing. But as I say, I'll talk a bit more on WasteWatch in a minute. Another one of our initiatives is called Drive, which goes hand in hand with WasteWatch. It is our menu planning system, which helps us to our on-site teams help to align production with demand. So it helps them track footfall and how many staff are going to be in the office, therefore how much food they need to order in for certain times, if they've got events coming on, etc. And therefore we can reduce waste that way by planning ahead. There are measurements and data sort of initiatives in terms of engagement and training, which is obviously a key aspect to encourage people to help tackle food waste. We host a range of engagement activities, one of them being called Cook for Change, which is our Sustainable Chef Challenge. It's a global and international competition where our chefs basically design a plant-based focused meal in an aim to reduce food waste. So using all aspects of, for example, a piece of vegetables or fruits and presenting the best dish that they can. These are all then judged, a bit like MasterChef, and the finalists are then selected for a week of training and culinary challenges in Paris, where a winner is then decided. So this encourages people to really think about what they're serving, and for the consumer, it shows them what's possible and how to enjoy all types of food and reduce waste that way. Another similar global initiative is called Goal Olympics, which is where our culinary teams compete for who can have the greatest food waste reduction over a month. This obviously helps to increase engagement, generate awareness, support, and reinforce individual responsibility and emphasize the value of reducing food waste. Wasteless Week is another one, which every year Sodexo tries to align with WRAP's Wasteless Week, which is where we place extra emphasis on reducing food waste and supporting sites tracking and reducing their food waste. So within this, we provide toolkits, information sessions, webinars for how they can use their WasteWatch data and other platforms to reduce waste at their site and what it might mean for them. Another piece which we are increasing this year is our green skills training. So this links back to our biggest challenge of engagement. We recognise that every role plays a part in our journey to net zero and reducing food waste. And we are, Sodexo UK and I are now a ICEP, previously IEMA training centre, which means that we can provide approved green skills training courses for people across all stages in their career to help empower them, give them the education that they need to understand the issues, why it's important for them, their business, and how their role can play a part. And also to achieve food waste and net zero, we recognise the importance of partnerships. One of our campaigns is called Appetite for Action, which was launched in 2021 with the aim to use Sodexo's scale and expertise within the food industry to work alongside political and industry stakeholders, chefs and customers to drive meaningful change in food service procurement and to help food waste. And as part of this, we have hosted things like roundtable events to share knowledge and collaborate, and have also conducted industry research to see what the current industry understanding is of food waste and how we as a company can therefore help to address the challenges people are facing. We also have our very own Stop Hunger Foundation, and since 2005, alongside our charity partners Fair Share, we have been working to address the root causes of food insecurity, which goes hand in hand with tackling food waste, as we partner with a lot of food redistribution charities. So food that would otherwise go to waste is redistributed to those in need. And also in tackling the root causes of food insecurity, such as poverty, education, and empowering certain individuals, we can help to tackle the root causes of food waste. But as I say, more information on all of these things can be found on our website. I appreciate that we've only got a short amount of time, so if you want to read more about any of these, please head to our website. So if we can go to the next slide, please. So just to talk a bit more about WasteWatch, as this is our key food waste initiative that we have within Sodexo. It was launched in 2015, as I say, before we began tracking our greenhouse gas emissions, but was launched to support our ambition to be net zero by 2040, and it aligns with our Global Better Tomorrow strategy. What it is, it's an easy to use digital and visual platform, which really assists with engaging our staff and encourages operational and behavioural changes. It allows for real-time tracking, so sites get an individual digital dashboard with their own scores, and they can input and track their own progress live. It has now been deployed across 3,000 sites globally, and within the UK, it has been deployed across 474 to 582 sites, depending on the reporting period that you look at. So a lot of sites. It now covers officially 85 to 88% of Sodexo UK and I's raw material costs, which is a huge proportion. And since this launch, we've been able to reduce our food waste by just over 50% since our baseline, which was set in 2017, which is obviously a huge amount. And roughly that equates to 561.3 tonnes of pre-consumer plate waste. This reduction of 50% also puts us 5 years ahead of the United Nations Sustainable Development Goal 12.3. So at the moment, we're in a really good place with food waste, and shows that the efforts that we've been taking do have a positive effect. So how it works, sites, as I say, get a live dashboard with their inputs recorded over time, and this is then inputted into our regional dashboard, where we can again track the data in real time. We can then see why and when food waste is occurring. So for example, we might see that there's higher levels of food waste on Fridays when perhaps there's less people in offices, things like that. We can see whether there's more pre or post-consumer waste, so whether the waste is occurring in the kitchen or whether it's, after it's been put out for the consumer. And then we can see the specific ways where waste might be occurring in the kitchen. So for example, if we've over-prepared a certain amount, if we're cutting off too much of the produce and it's going in the bin, things like that. We get all of that information in one place. So it really is a great platform. We also get information that correspond to the waste inputted, such as the tons of carbon emissions, the cost of the food waste, and the meal equivalents. So for example, the figures that I mentioned on the left, all of those are calculated and shown on our dashboard. And like I say, Drive is also implemented into the platform to help with menu planning. As I say, it's powered by LeanPath, and they help with engagement and education and provide regular training and awareness webinars for the staff who use the platform, so they know fully how to use it and what it means for them, how it can help their roles and save time. One of the most effective ways we've found to engage staff is to make it relevant to them. Everyone understands the cost associated with buying food and things like that. But one thing that we've really found helps to engage people is the fact that reducing food waste will often save their time. For example, if we're wasting less, then it means that there's less stock reordering, less prep time, etc., etc. So that's been a really useful piece of information we can use from our WasteWatch platform. Okay, I'm conscious of time, so if we move on to the next slide, just to sort of give you a quick idea of where we're up to at the moment. As I say, we've managed to achieve over 50% reduction in food waste since our baseline. We've now deployed it nearly depending on how you look at it, about 500 sites, covering 85% of our raw material costs, which has massively reduced our emissions as a company. Overall, we've achieved a 44.5% reduction in our scopes 1, 2, and 3 emissions as a company, and a big part of this has been our reduction in food waste. And as I mentioned previously as well, the social benefits are there as well. So not just environmental, we've managed to help lots of people who are facing food insecurity through our redistribution pathways, through our Stop Hunger charity. And over the 20 years that Stop Hunger has been running, we've managed to help over 10 million people who are facing food insecurity. If we could go to the next slide, please. Okay, so what's next for us? As I mentioned, we had our Better Tomorrow 2025 strategy, which is now Better Tomorrow 2028. Within that, we have goals specifically focused on food waste. So as a region, we will be continuing to expand WasteWatch across more sites, making sure that people have set their baseline correctly so we can continue to measure properly. We will be increasing the uptake of our green skills and training pathways for all of our staff to make sure that they understand what sustainability is, what net zero is, why food waste is important, and how it links to their roles. And yeah, like I say, we've got our regional social impact pledge, which covers key sustainability goals, and that is aligned to our Better Tomorrow global sustainability roadmap. Just to touch on our message, which I think is an important one, I think a lot of people overlook food waste, but I'd say for those of you who haven't considered it yet, it's something that Sodexo found to have many benefits, not just financially, but also improving operational efficiency, saving staff time, effort, resources, etc. And it's also a highly relatable issue, and it's something that everyone's familiar with due to their own personal experiences. And this has proven to be a really powerful way to engage teams to reduce their food waste. And yeah, it's an essential step to reducing our emissions and aiding the overall climate change issue. So definitely one to focus on if you haven't considered it already. I appreciate I've been talking for a long time and that's a lot of information. So I guess we go to the Q&A now. But like I say, all information is on our websites as well, if you want to read it any further.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Savannah. As we've sort of come to the time now that we're hitting half past 12, we will stay on for a few minutes and cover a Q&A, as I said at the start. But on the screen at the minute, we've just got a couple of case studies that we would encourage you to have a look at, which, just like Sodexo, are putting food waste prevention into practice and show some of the fantastic results that can be achieved with that. So over to Q&A. Emma, if I hand over to you now, if that's okay.
Yeah, we've got a couple of questions come through already, but if you do have any other questions, then please do pop them in the Q&A and we'll either pick them up now or come back to you later. So Savannah, there were a couple of questions. I think one of them, you had the number of sites, but the question was around, do you know what percentage of sites are using WasteWatch? Don't know if you know that off the top of your head or not.
Just realised I'm on mute. Well, I know across the UK we have about 2,000 sites, and obviously we've deployed just over 500 now, depending on the reporting period. So we're at least a quarter sites covered. I think depending on how you look at it, that percentage does vary. But yeah, we have a lot of sites across the UK, but we're getting there.
Thanks. And similarly, along the same vein, so did teams use WasteWatch to track their plate waste as well? Do you track plate waste in a different?
Yeah, we do. So we track pre and post-consumer waste. So post-consumer waste is the plate waste. So this will basically get scraped into a tub, and then that tub will get weighed, and we can identify the different types of waste within that. So short answer is yes.
And can WasteWatch be used for large food manufacturing sites, or is it specific to Sodexo?
It's something that LeanPath have developed specifically for us, but I don't see any reason why it couldn't be used on a larger scale. Like I say, it's been tailored for our specific needs, but LeanPath are a global company, and I don't see any reason why it couldn't be scaled up to larger manufacturers.
Interesting one here around senior leadership. How do you frame food waste reduction to your senior leadership teams in a way that resonates commercially?
So all of our food waste goals are tied to leadership incentives, which obviously drives them to continue engaging with our reduction targets, making sure that all of our teams understand what it means for them, why it's important. So yeah, it is tied to our leadership incentives, financially and performance based. Yeah.
And one based on your overall net zero target. So how do you know how much impact your food actions make and how much they contribute to your net zero target?
I don't have the exact figures off the top of my head, but the most recent net zero report, which will be on our website, will cover how food waste impacted our results last year. We will be publishing our 2026 net zero report, I believe, in February, which will detail a lot more of the specifics, percentages and contributing factors, etc. Yeah, sorry, I don't have the exact figures off the top of my head right now, but it will be detailed in that report.
One about keeping the engagement up. How do you keep the engagement and behaviour across the front of house teams where they may not be incentive driven?
I think a lot of it is around the education piece. And like I say, something that we've found really useful is to make the issue relatable. No one wants to be spending extra time doing tasks that they don't need to be doing or they could save time doing. So when we highlight that, reducing food waste and improving, practice efficiency in the prep stages or in the kitchen or influencing consumer choices, this directly relates back to saving staff time on different activities, and that's something that we found to be really useful when keeping people engaged. But also, I sit within the sustainability team. We do have a specific food team as well who go on a lot of site visits, make sure people understand how the process works, why it's important, and just offer that support as well, to help people stay engaged. There's lots of different ways. Yeah.
And interesting one. So, what's the next big opportunity in hospitality food waste prevention? Data, tech, training, or something else?
I think well, there's a big focus on AI at the moment, isn't there? So it's how much, we could potentially use AI to simplify, especially the data side of things. I'm sure there's a big space for that. It's not something I'm too clued up on AI at the moment, I have to admit, but I know it's something that our teams and our system specialists do focus on and consider all of the time. But yeah, I think engagement is definitely up there. It's a hard issue. Just because we sit there and tell someone that it's important doesn't mean that they're going to then act on it and find it important to them. So I think training and the potential to simplify processes through things like AI will definitely be a big focus for us next year.
How do you make sure you've got the actual waste figures? Some managers might not always record the correct waste.
So within the system, any anomalies are flagged. We can see every single weight that's been put into the system, which, as you can imagine, is a massive data set. But we do have, like I say, specific people within the food team who are responsible for initiatives like this, and they are constantly looking over the data. Where perhaps there's been a gap of reporting, they will go down to the site and see if everything's okay. Perhaps there's been some issues with the platform or there's more training required. Things like that. So we do monitor the results, but yeah, it's a big data set to keep on top of.
Okay. Unless anyone's got any other questions, I think that's everything. Back to you, Lindsay.
Fantastic, Savannah. Those were really, really interesting responses, and really show how deep into Sodexo's operations that this food waste prevention strategy runs. So thank you so much. I'm sure we could pick your brains for a lot longer, but as I say, conscious of time. So yeah, if anybody has any further questions, don't be afraid to either put them in the chat or send us an email at wrap, and we will respond to those accordingly. So yeah, just last thing from me again, Savannah, thank you so much for sharing everything that you are doing today. It's been really interesting and really inspiring, hopefully, for many other people to do similar in their own organisations. So thanks all.
Perfect. Thank you, everyone.